Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. I almost forgot what it was called then. It's been that long since I've had the gang do a video, but I think the one we did was a Boxing Day preview. So we've had loads happen between then and now. Obviously, West Ham were beaten by Southampton.
It was fun, mate. I really enjoyed watching that live. Yeah,
I can imagine. Brilliant. City spanked Leicester 6-3. Man United drew against Newcastle. We've had Leicester beat Liverpool, and the Liverpool fans absolutely in bits, saying the league's rigged and all that after City obviously beat Arsenal at the weekend. There's been all sorts going on. Obviously, Chelsea-Liverpool, great game between them two. Was it yesterday? All the days are rolling into one. Yeah,
tomorrow, mate.
Tomorrow. Corey said tomorrow.
Look how long I've been off this, mate. Honestly, I need to warm up.
Tell the future. I love that. And of course, Leeds United yesterday put daylight between them and the drop, which means I am absolutely bouncing. I know it's only Burnley, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And we looked better. But before we get into loads, we've got loads to chat about. Not least, obviously, the fact that Rangnick's worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they should have stuck with Ole. We'll have a chat about Lukaku. We'll throw that in there as well, see what your guys' thoughts are. The top four race, which looks like it'll be an all-London shootout between Spurs, Arsenal, and the Hammers. Is the title race over? There's been loads happening. There's more as well. There is more, obviously. Liverpool, yeah, there's just loads, and we'll just see, guys. If there's anything I've missed, make sure you put it in the chat, and we'll get to it because loads has happened between Christmas and New Year. But before we get into the matches, Corey, how was your Christmas? How was your New Year, mate?
Yeah, it was all right. It was pretty chilled. I think I've watched as much rubbish TV as everyone else, so I've kind of got it out of my system ahead of work tomorrow. So. Yeah, getting back to a routine, mate, and obviously West Ham, it's kind of been a bit up and down, really. Obviously, we kind of continued a bad month of form, and luckily in the last two games, we've turned it on going forward. So, yeah, it's nice, mate. I'm feeling a little bit better. Had you spoken to me and we struggled to get a result against Watford and Palace, maybe I would have had a different mood, but yeah, I'm all good, mate.
Yeah, I thought you'd done a locks on me after the Southampton result. I said, "Is anyone free?" And the Corey was like, "Nah." And I was like,
"Yeah,
Corey's letting me down."
I'll tell you a story. So I couldn't get to the game. All the trains into London were essentially cancelled on Boxing Day, so I had to get a coach, and it took me a while to get there. And the stadium was half packed out, and it was just miserable. Like it was so miserable. But yeah, swings and roundabouts, mate.
I get it, mate. I remember going to Stoke. The first season under Bielsa, we went down there. We had a depleted squad. We had kids coming off the bench, and we got beat 1-0, and it was absolutely woeful. And I just remember, like, on that way home, like, coach, it's horrible when you've got beat in it, and you're just like, just get me home, man, will you? I understand it. Matt, how was your Christmas and New Year been, mate? I seen your new. It's behind you there, isn't it? Your new picture of.
It is.
It's White Hart Lane, right? Or is it the new gaff? Yeah, I was going to say that's not the new gaff, is it?
No, that's the new one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find a way to actually put them up instead of like that's on my bed stacked up one on top of the other. So I have to find a way to get them in properly. But it was an interesting Christmas. We ended up having 2 Christmas days because of positive cases in the family, so twice as much food. So good one for me. But one you left out at the top of the show there. Spurs are on a roll. Left that out there, but it's been a good one.
Yeah, man, it has been good. I was obviously buzzing as well the other day when Davison Sanchez got that late winner as well, because that meant Watford. Struggling under Ranieri. I think they've had 2 wins. I think he gets the sack, by the way, before the season's out, because they've only had 2 wins, and that was against the woeful Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Man United, and obviously Rafa Benitez's Everton when they were in the mud, and I think they still are. But yeah, talking about 2 Christmases, I've ended up having 3 Christmas dinners, because I had my Christmas Day, then my daughter's come on Boxing Day, and then just like yourself, my partner's Nana had COVID. She only just came out today, and obviously she ate Christmas on her own, all that sort of jazz. So we did it all again today. So I'm full of Christmas dinner today. So I'm
feeling a bit tight.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. But where should we start? Should we start with the most recent? Obviously, Manchester United have just been beaten by Wolves, a Moutinho goal. Do you know what it is for me? It's just we heard all this chat about Rangnick, and I think we as fans, I can't speak for you guys, but I know myself. When Bielsa was announced, I wasn't too up on the guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know an awful lot about him, but I told everyone I did, and I was like, "Yo, he's done this, he's done that," because you do your research. But I think we've seen a lot of that from Manchester United fans, and it's almost looked like this guy was the second coming. When in actual fact, Corey, what you've seen on the pitch is woeful, and should they have stuck with Ollie?
No, they shouldn't have. It's like, let's be real. Ollie was a different level of poor tactically. But look, I mean, I've watched a few Man United games because that's all Sky seem to put on. Quite, you'd imagine that would be the case. They are really, really. It's taken them a long time to put in place what I think he's trying to put in place. I'm not seeing the pressing anymore, which is a bit strange. I thought they would have maintained that. I think their biggest problem is they're quite limited in possession. I think Matic and McTominay are so poor. I was really surprised that he hasn't tried and put maybe a Van der Beek in there, someone that's a little bit more composed, can play through the lines. It's very disjointed, and I think you've heard a lot from Manchester United fans and the media saying that some of these players aren't fully behind it. Maybe that's a reason why it's taken a lot longer. But I do find it quite funny that he was billed as the second coming of Gegenpress, and it just hasn't. It's not there. It's just not there. And you look at Ronaldo, and people talk about him being really frustrated, and you've seen it quite a lot on the telly. To be honest, even if you look at his role on the pitch, him dropping deep doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I think I expected Rangnick to come in to really kind of galvanise them, at least see a style of play and identity, but it still looks quite stilted and poor. And in terms of them competing for top four, they've got to worry because Tottenham are picking up results. Arsenal looking really good, albeit losing the other day. And we're obviously picking up results with some decent fixtures coming up. So, yeah, they're in trouble. So let's have a look what they do.
I mean, Phil Jones started at the back today, so that tells you all you need to know. Phil Jones alongside Varane. But just on Donny van de Beek as well, like Luke W has made a good point in the chat saying, he hasn't played 3 games straight. Is there, maybe we hyping up, or because I see a lot of Man United fans clamouring for this guy, and they understand it during Ollie's tenure because he never got a run out and he was stuck in his ways. But we're seeing him also not get much of a run out under Rangnick. So is this something in that? Will Donny van de Beek go? Like, if I was him, I'd be like, do you know what? My Man United career's not really worked out. Let me just move. I don't know what you think, Matt.
I think the way United have treated him is absolutely shocking, and his career is never going to reach the level that it could have when he was playing so well at Ajax. I think he's played 4 minutes under Rangnick, but were there quotes yesterday, the day before, that Rangnick has spoken to Van de Beek and he's telling him his role in the squad and this and that, and he's happy to stay, and it's all just a lot of crap, to be honest.
Is it just 4 minutes, Matt?
Just 4 minutes. Yeah, it must have been that first game against Crystal Palace. But like, you look at that midfield that they're playing, 4 games in a row now. You can maybe exclude the game against Crystal Palace. I think there was kind of a new manager bounce, the optimism in the squad, all that, and it managed to carry them over the line. Which, let's not forget, United fans were talking about it as if they just won the Premier League, and it took a 30-yard strike from Fred to actually win the game at all. But every game since then, they've been overrun in midfield, and for whatever reason, Rangnick is insisting on playing this 4-2-2-2, where he only really ends up having 2 central players because of how wide that middle 2 end up playing, and that's in itself is a massive risk. But then when you're going to put Nemanja Matic in that midfield, who incredibly, as a technical player, is really, really good, and maybe in a 3-man midfield would do a little bit better, but in terms of mobility, it's just simply not there. McTominay can't do all that hard work on his own. He's probably a player who's in the squad because of his endeavour and his effort and all that, rather than his ability. But it's absolutely clueless from Rangnick, and not even just Van de Beek. Looking at Bruno Fernandes, and when he does get on the pitch, he has to play out wide, because there is no central attacking midfield role there for him to slot in, where he is obviously at his best, even though he's kind of gone backwards a little bit this season. But for Van de Beek, you have to be sitting there looking at that squad. And towards the end of Solskjaer's assignment with Carrick as an interim, he was getting game time. And he didn't live up to the standards of what United fans have expected. But when you haven't played consistent football in 2 years, what more can you ask for from him? He can't in any way be happy. He can't think that... Like, he must know he's better than the players that are playing in that midfield, or he's at least a different option to go in there. But whatever the stubbornness is, I do agree with you that there probably is a little bit more to it if Solskjaer and now Rangnick are opting not to play him. But it's just baffling. Whatever's going on at that football club, it's baffling.
Yeah, I would expect. I know he was unhappy under Ollie, and he was saying like maybe I'll have to move on and whatnot. But if I were him, I'd be pushing for a loan. But Corey, are you worried that if say Man United were, do you expect them to do business? Because for me, like Matt's just alluded to, the squad is not really up to it, so they have to bring players in. Do you envisage a situation where that will happen? Because they'd have to move a lot of players out. Phil Jones, like, I know some have said he played well today, and that's fair, but like they'll have to move on. Do you know what I mean? They have to get rid. I think before
they will, but I think they'll move on in the summer. I think what you've heard from Rangnick's, they're going to stick with the same squad. It's a very imbalanced team. It really, really is. And Manchester United have spent a lot of money. There's no getting away from it. Varane, Sancho, who I think has been awful, and I really rated Sancho before he came, but just doesn't look the same player. Could be to do with system, could be to do with game time, I'm not sure. But for me, I don't think Manchester United are going to do anything. And I think he's going to persist with the same players. But it is a bit strange to persist with the same players that underperformed under Ollie. You'd expect at least him to make some bigger calls. Yeah. You know, we've seen Lingard's not going to go anywhere. Why not try out Lingard? If you're going to play 4-2-2-2, at least have a player that can kind of come inside, maybe play wide at times, offer them something. Because at the minute you watch Manchester United, we're talking about a lot of shoehorning. I thought Greenwood was their best player tonight, and he's playing on the wing. For me, he's a number 9. And so why not play him up front where he's got the mobility, he can stretch the play? There's certain calls he's not making. I think it's a bit deeper at Man United. I really do. I think there's something to do with that squad and that attitude. Yeah. And listen, loads of pundits have said it, and I've gone, yeah, a load of rubbish, mate. But when Keane says it all the time, you think that's not true. But it must be. They do throw managers under the bus, so no business. But mate, they should be well overperforming from where they are now. They are so far beneath the level that club should be at. It's a joke.
Yeah. Just on the point there, just on the point about Greenwood, he was their best player tonight, and then Rangnick whips him off. You know, the first time they make, he takes Greenwood off, and the response from the crowd, I think, tells you everything you need to know about them. But it's been the same story in all the games. He's just making the wrong substitutions, and you can't expect him to know his squad perfectly. You can't expect him to know it in and out. But if you're at a situation where the fans know every decision you make is the wrong one, I mean, surely there's a little bit better you can be doing for a manager, for a footballing man of his caliber as well. I just don't get it. And what United do need as well is a manager who is willing to make these big decisions. Like dropping Bruno, you can argue is a big decision, but I was looking at the stat there with Cristiano Ronaldo. He scored 2 goals in open play since the 19th of September. In the Premier League, 2 goals in open play in 3.5 months for this player who's apparently going to be their savior. He should not be in that squad. He's been, like Corey said, he's been shoehorned into this team. Players around him are suffering. The entire team is suffering. There's a few moments tonight. There was at one stage Wolves were attacking. The ball was kind of clear to the edge of the box, and Ronaldo tried to head it back to De Gea, and he headed it straight to Raul Jimenez. And then everyone started to track him back, trying to recover the situation. And Ronaldo just stood there at the edge of the box, just looking around him as if nothing was going on. And there was another stage, there was a bad pass out to Wan-Bissaka on the right. Ronaldo kept it in play. Wan-Bissaka then continued the attack. And Ronaldo just stood on the side of the pitch watching it, thinking, oh yeah, I ran a bit, my job's done. It's ridiculous. He needs to be dropped, and I don't think Rangnick is going to be the man to do that.
It is mad because I could even hark back to the start of the season for Manchester United. Greenwood, and I do like Greenwood. I know I shouldn't like Manchester United players, but I do like Greenwood. Like, he's a great finisher. And you could argue, like, even when he started the season under Ollie, he was scoring for fun. So he's playing him where he's supposed to be played. Do you know what I mean? He's a great finisher. And then they buy Ronaldo and everything starts to move around. And I do agree with Corey. I think it's class for me to see, but I do think it is. It runs deeper, doesn't it, than the manager. There's the squad. There's obviously something not right there. I think maybe there's even calls in the camp probably themselves thinking, why have we got Maguire as captain? Do you know what? You just don't know, do you, though? Like, this stuff could run mega deep. And the one thing, and I've always said it, is like, if Ferguson was still there, like, they'd have never took Pogba back. Like, they'd have never took... And I'm not blaming it. Do you know what I mean? But it's that sort of... It breeds that sort of atmosphere. This guy, remember, right, every season we hear from his agent saying he wants to move on. If that was under Ferguson's tenure, he already binned him off. But do you know what I mean? He won't stand for that. And that's what's wrong, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of a wider point of recruitment at Manchester United. You know, all of a sudden you've gone from a counter-attacking team to, from what I can see, a possession-based side. And they don't have really the players for it. And it's funny, they've spent all of that money. and the midfield pivots McTominay and Matic. And granted, okay, you could put Pogba in there maybe and they'd improve, but it's still poor. How long have Manchester United fans been crying out for a number 6 that's calm in possession, that can play through the lines? It would help them. And for me, I look at Ronaldo, and yeah, it's about personality. And yeah, obviously he doesn't want to upset the dressing room. I just don't see what he offers. He's a polar opposite of what a Ralph Rangnick team allegedly is supposed to be. And so he has to make that call. Granted, Manchester United aren't going to turn into this amazing pressing team overnight, but you've got to be brave enough to make the call stylistically, at least for United fans. You've got to get them on side with the patient side of things. Because if these type of results keep happening, and they will happen against really well-coached sides, I'm looking at Manchester United in a couple of weeks, and I'm thinking, I fancy us. I really do, if we're in full form. And United fans will turn. They'll always turn, because it's the expectation. So, yeah, it's a sticky wicket, mate. They're awful to watch.
Yeah, they are. And Rusty makes a good point. Let's also congrats Wolves on a decent result. They turned them over. Not just that Man United were rubbish, and Jack Simpson echoes that. Wolves have been a good team this year.
They were really good. They were really good when we played them. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I'm like. I said in my preview to our game against them that they were a shout for Europe. Go back and check it, and look where they are now. Just Wolves quickly. Do you reckon they could get in the Europa League spots? Or is it too far?
I think it might be just too far. I don't know. I just feel like Spurs, Arsenal, West Ham, or you see the league now, there is a kind of gap. But I'd say if you're talking about teams outside of that, I think Wolves are the best bet. If someone's going to sneak in and someone drops out, Wolves are the best bet.
Yeah, for sure. 3 points behind Manchester United currently. So, yeah. It'd be worth maybe sticking some money on if that's your thing. Let's move it on then. So Manchester United are still rubbish regardless of a manager change. Let's talk about the other side of Manchester. Matt, for you, title done, City boxed off. That's it. It's mad, really. Like, I can think back to the start of these videos. Like, I've backed Chelsea at one point, Liverpool, then City at the start, and then Chelsea bringing Lukaku, and I remember Oscar saying this will go to the wire. There will be 1 or 2 points in it. And then now, like over this period, basically, City have just built this massive gap and it looks insurmountable now, Matt, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it sucks. Like, it really does. We want some bit of excitement. Like, I know like the three of us, we can all admit our clubs are a very, very long way from ever being in that mix, but we still want to see something exciting, You want a bit of something. You want another Aguero moment or another, just something towards the end of the season to bring that excitement. And look, I think that excitement will come in the top 4 race, but yeah, I mean, we're in a situation now where, like, Liverpool and Chelsea maybe a bit more so than Liverpool, but Liverpool have had 2-3 bad results, and all of a sudden their season's over. All of a sudden nothing's going to happen, and it's you don't want football to become like that. We always say that about the European leagues, that where the excitement is lacking from there is that PSG 9 times out of 10 will win the league, and Bayern Munich will win the Bundesliga, and we're in real danger of the Premier League becoming that. But you can say what you want about how much money City have invested. They've invested really cleverly 99% of the time, and they do deserve credit for that. And Pep deserves credit for the high standards that he's maintained at that football club for 5 years. Like, you look at Tottenham under Pochettino's best example I can think of, but when there's the same voice banging on at you time and time again, month after month, year after year, season after season, that can go stale and it's effect. But somehow Guardiola has managed to keep everybody on side and just demanding the absolute best out of all of those players. And it shows in the way that they're playing at the moment, because they're not just, at times they've been in the last couple of years just going out, getting their 2-0 victory and being happy with that, but they're going out and they're ripping teams apart. They're hitting Leicester for 6, they're hitting Leeds for 7. They look so comfortable, so competent, and so almost perfect in every way that they're playing. And it's a joy to watch when you do get to sit down and watch them play that football, but it does take that excitement out of the league, but 100% for me.
Yeah. Do you know what, though? Like, I don't know how Corey feels about this, and I'll ask you, Matt, as well. I don't begrudge City it. I think a lot of new, young generational fans see them as oil, money, and all this sort of stuff. And I get all that, no history. But for me, like, I'm assuming you guys will have seen this, but did any of you see Steve's response to Robbie when he when he spoke about his journey with Man City? Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, as a fan, it was like, I never begrudge City it because they've been in the pits. They have been in the pits, and they got lucky. And like Steve said, like, all of us really want that. Like, I don't care what anyone said. Anyone would love us to go like that and then be winning Champions Leagues and that. But this, he made a good point. He mentioned about his son, and I think he said his son had been to like 13 times to Wembley, and he was bored of it now. And I think the younger generation sees City as that, like, oh, they just. But for me, being a bit older, I don't begrudge him it, because I'm like, do you know what? They came from nothing really, so fair play to them, kind of vibe. But yeah, and to be honest, like, Liverpool fans, I have a lot of Liverpool fan friends on it, but they don't have bitch and moan. So when I seen it crumbling, I was enjoying it. I did have money on it, but I actually like celebrated the Rodri goal against Arsenal. I was like, get in there! And I know that, I don't know if I go along with Matt about it getting like that, because I think Hussam said that we should thank Liverpool fans because they're the only reason that it stays competitive, and then like 3 games
I
later,
don't want to be rude. I really don't care about all of that. I know maybe it's different for if you're a club that's competing top 4 regularly, but for me, look, at the end of the day, I think the league is probably the most competitive it's been outside of those top 3. I think it's a lot tighter. The quality, the standards improved massively. I'm not that bothered. It's a strange statement, I got to be honest, like as if I should be grateful for Liverpool compete. I really don't care. Maybe I'm too selfish, but Man City deserve a lot of credit. I know there's a lot of money banded around, but we've seen examples of teams that have spent a lot of money and done it right, and exactly what Luke says there. And it's gone to pot. Look at Everton; they spent an absolute fortune. They're nowhere even near the Europa League, which is where they should minimum be in theory. Yeah. And I think, and someone made this point on Sky the other day, I think Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel, they've raised the standard of the league, the systems that we're seeing, the quality of football. And I think as well, Conte coming in, and it's becoming it's much better league for me to watch now. Even Crystal Palace the other night, I've got to be honest. I'd never have said Crystal Palace would have been playing like that probably even 2-3 years ago. So listen, I'm not saying they're the saviors of the league or whatever, but they deserve a lot of credit, and I think listen, they'll get that Champions League. If I just got an Abu Dhabi owner come and buy West Ham, I'm never going to sit there and moan. I'll probably let it off, and it'll be a similar journey. Do you know what I mean? It would, being relegated, and I guess that's why Steve says that, because he's as an older fan, he has that experience, and he probably enjoys it and savors it even more. So I don't really begrudge him. I don't really dislike City, if I'm honest. Honestly, fair play to him.
I did see a tweet earlier, and I do agree with this, and this might sound like I'm throwing shade at City fans, but a lass on Twitter had said, like, we are slowly becoming the most hated club or something, right? And then someone quote tweeted it and was like, no, you're not. Like, we just like the fact that you beat everyone else's rivals, because like City don't have it. So like for me, like I can see them beat Manchester United or whatever. I'm like, yeah, beat Chelsea, yeah. And I guess it's the same for like you, Matt. When you see them beat Arsenal or whatever. Like, I don't think not many teams have a rivalry with City, if that makes sense. Like you could argue even the Man United one, Liverpool's more of a rivalry there. Do you know what I mean? I think I don't know, but listen, I don't. They've boxed the league off, haven't they, now? That's game over, yeah?
I think, and just touching on that as well, the best thing about City is, and people will take this as a meme, they'll make jokes about it, but they don't have any fans that can annoy you when they do well. It's for me over in Ireland, I know one City fan. One City fan out of an office of like 100 football fans, I know one City fan. So they're kind of just a handy team to take the trophies off Liverpool so I can watch their fans cry. They're nothing team who are just happen to be the best of all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I knew one City fan growing up before, obviously, all this. She was at my school. There's a lass, actually, Amy Kerman, she was called. She was a big fan. She used to go every week, actually. But like for her, that's what I'm saying. We were in the same year. She used to go every week, and then now, look at it. Do you know what I mean? I bet she can't believe it. So fair play to them. Fair play. Right, let's talk about Chelsea for a second, because I want to get your thoughts on Lukaku. It's been mad. It's
coming to Spurs, is he?
Oh no, just close seeing them in meltdown.
Some of the tweets I've seen today of like, yeah, I've been benched, but it wasn't like when I was benched at Inter. Their seats were more comfy and all this sort of stuff. And it was just Corey, what's he doing, man? Like, if I'm a Chelsea fan, like I would be raging. But it still seems to me that they're trying to defend him. I don't know if
I don't think they are.
no.
Maybe I'm just not seeing the right accounts.
Yeah.
I can only say what I see, particularly with Matisse. He's quite vehement about, and I would be, and I think sometimes when I saw the quotes come out, I thought that's a bit weird. I mean, what's he going on about? And the more and more these type of quotes come out, the more I thought you can't do that. No. And it's the timing for me. It's the kind of the situation as well. The fact it's behind closed doors. The fact that he's been sitting on it for 3 weeks. I've heard some of the Chelsea players aren't happy with it. It's put Tuchel in a really disadvantageous position because he's lost his number 9, a player that's gone and scored. I think was it 3 goals in the last 2 games or whatever, or maybe 2 goals. Very bizarre. Very, very weird. I don't know what he's trying to achieve. If he doesn't want to move back to Inter Milan, which he knows that can't be the circumstance because they don't have the money, then what is he gaining out of it? I just don't. And I think even the Inter fans aren't happy with it. It's just weird, mate. It's so ill-advised. It is stupid. That's all I can say.
Am I right in saying like he thought he'd be going to the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the elite clubs, and no one came knocking, so he was like, I'll go back to Chelsea, you know what I mean? Like
that's basically what he should have said. He might as well have just said that and said, they were the only option there. Inter couldn't afford me anymore. Yeah. But if you're gonna say that, just don't say anything at all. Just save yourself, mate. I just don't get it. Unless we ask Lukaku and he comes out and says something again, which I doubt he's going to do an interview for a long time, then we'll never know.
Yeah, Matt, where do you think they go from here? Does he get back? They can't sell him, can they? Like, they've just paid just short of 100 million for him. And even if they put him out there, people are going to be like, we're not paying 100 million for him, mate. You don't want to be there. You're getting this, you're getting that. So they're going to have to stick. As soon as I seen it, I tweeted, I said, Tuchel's on borrowed time, just because I know how, and I guess we as fans see it from the outside, how massive player power is at Chelsea. Like, I don't think it's like at any other club like it is at Chelsea. And the fact they've put this big money on him, I don't know, I think, and the results going the way they have, how do you see it playing out, mate?
Look, first of all, I think Tuchel has handled it actually quite well. He didn't like shy away from the questions in the interviews. He said exactly as it was. We're going to have a meeting. He said he spoke to the senior players of the club, which I think was a very good shout as well, to kind of get them all involved in dealing with what has been a calamitous couple of days, and it's ridiculous that Lukaku has done this. But you're right, they can't sell him. They just can't, because they paid £100 million. I'm sure he's on very high wages, and it's not the first time he's done something like this. It's the first time he's gone so severe, and he's properly done it this time. Clubs aren't going to want to bring him back. The Inter Milan Ultras put their banner outside the San Siro. I forget what it said, but they basically said they don't want him back. Barcelona, apparently, with their financial issues resolved, even still they won't go after him. Real Madrid will. Basically, the big clubs out there will be looking now, if they're going to make a big signing, it's going to be Haaland or it's going to be Mbappe. Yeah, no one's going to want a 28, 29-year-old Lukaku who is really struggling for form. There's been bizarre links to Tottenham that we're going to get him on loan, or we're going to get him into partner Harry Kane. It's just not going to happen. He's going to stay at Chelsea. He'll probably get back into the team and he'll probably score goals, because that's what he does. And that's the reason that he's still at the top level. But
is this actually? I haven't seen any of this about him coming to Spurs.
Oh, they're all these stupid, ridiculous sources looking for Gazzetta dello Sport, absolute rubbish of the highest order. Saying, he wants a reunion with Antonio Conte, who's still in love with him. It's a load of crap. But like, I was speaking to a United fan about this, and when the quotes first came out, I was getting these post notifications from Fabrizio Romano every 5 minutes with a new quote. Lukaku just going off on one. And I sent one of them to a United fan friend of mine, and I was like, "This is crazy. How's this happening?" I was so surprised, and he went, "I'm not surprised one bit. That is Lukaku. That is what he does." He said one year he was at United and he was having arguments with a fan on Twitter who was calling him slow, and Lukaku leaked the club like sprint record times and all that crap. Yeah. It's confidential information. He leaked it just to say, "Yeah, look, I'm not slow." Proved he was slow in a different way. But yeah, look, he's he's his own worst enemy. He really is, and if he did this for a move, he's not going to get it, and he probably should have known that as well.
Yeah, I seen Neeks actually tweet something about this. Now, I think Neeks had said something along the lines of, like, surely that was prior to him moving to Chelsea. I don't know if this is, surely he's not gone that brazen as to change it after the fact. Do you know what I mean? Like, changed it back. I did see something about that on Twitter, but yeah, it's mad. It is mad what's gone off there. But yeah, I don't know how it'll play out. We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, success now for Chelsea.
A cup.
Champions League, is it? I don't know.
Maybe Carabao Cup, FA Cup. I don't know. Maybe if Tuchel can do a domestic double, maybe it. I think it's a bit harsh on Chelsea. I know. Listen, their performances have been poor. Can't get away from that. But if you actually look at the table and the points tally, and particularly the way they performed against Liverpool first half and probably just beginning of the second, I thought they were superb. And maybe we've been downplaying it just because of the injuries and the COVID situation. But Chelsea's such a club where you almost feel like if Tuchel does finish third or fourth, they'll sack him. But this is slightly different because Tuchel is such a good coach that I kind of feel you need to give him another season. I think he's got to get a cup. Don't get me wrong. I think he's got to persuade them. But I still think he's too good a coach. And if you were going to sack him, I know Chelsea always seem to find a man, but who would you bring in? Do you know what I mean? He's probably one of the top 5 coaches in the world.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
Other than David Moyes.
David Moyes, other than David Moyes. We will get to West Ham as well. Yeah, we will get to West Ham and we will get to Spurs as well. Don't worry about that. Let's just have a quick chat then about Arsenal City. That was a brilliant game to watch. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. It had everything. Arsenal, I thought, in the first half were great. And then, I mean, why they persist with Xhaka, I still don't know. Like,
shoot themselves in the foot, mate. They were absolutely brilliant first half. They were really, really good. Like, it shocked me how good they were. Even I was a bit like, this is nuts.
Especially when you consider earlier on in the season when they got spanked, and then Arteta's really starting to build something there, and then they play so well in that first half.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan, you take a lot of encouragement for it. You're probably still frustrated at the fact that Xhaka has effectively given away the pen in the manner. I'm sure we'll get onto the actual incident itself, but in terms of pressing, Partey was fantastic as well, and like someone just mentioned, Martinelli. I think that attacking midfield now in terms of pressing, energy, playing through the lines, the build-up plays a lot better. Just the thing is with Arteta and the way they play, it's very fine margins. It can be very, very poor very quickly, and there can be a lack of creativity. But if you get it right, particularly with a team like City that are going to press you, and you beat the press, and you've got players like Martinelli that can carry the ball and Saka, you will get chances and you will create. It's not. I actually don't think there's any coincidence they've looked better since Martinelli's coming for Aubameyang. And it's probably just because there's no square pegs round hole situation. You've got players that fit exactly what he wants to do. And look, I've been critical of them, and I have because I look at teams on performance, but they should be very proud of themselves. I haven't seen a lot of teams do that to Manchester City.
No, they're good. And fair play to Arteta because he's took some flack, and he's for me, he's really built. Like, they've got one of the youngest. Is it the youngest squad in the league as well? I think on average, maybe. So I think he's done brilliantly. Obviously, the way Arsenal fans were reacting though, like, I don't think the referee got any of it wrong.
No, he didn't.
He didn't, did he? Like,
no, but I'm sorry, Matt. I don't know if you were watching the same thing, but on BT Sport, they were going on and on and on. I was thinking, why are we still talking about this? I thought VAR got it right. And now we're going down the path of VAR where you shouldn't flag it, even if it's wrong. I'm thinking,
that's what Matt Manaman said. That's what Matt Manaman. He went, VAR shouldn't be used to get involved to overturn referees' decisions. That's what he said. I was like, no, that's what it's for, Steve. That is what it's for.
Matt Manaman is one of the worst. I didn't get to watch that game because I was working, but he's one of the worst commentators I've ever listened to. Yeah. He genuinely doesn't know what he's going on about. Yeah. For the decisions that I saw, I didn't think any of them were blatantly wrong. I think Arsenal have a case for that penalty on Odegaard, but it's one of those.
I don't even think they do. I don't even think we do with that.
I think it's one of those that if the referee had given it, it would have stood. VAR wouldn't have overturned it because it's such a tight call whether or not it was Ederson or Odegaard who actually got their foot to the ball. I think it was Odegaard. I think it should have been a penalty, but it's not a clear and obvious error. And if we're going to demand that they stay out of offside calls unless it's clear and obvious, well, we have to say the same about the rest of the decisions. So it's just unfortunate for Arsenal, really fortunate for me that that decision wasn't made by the referee on the pitch. But what I'm really, really confused about is why Arsenal are getting so much. Like, yes, they were fantastic in that first half, but why are they getting so much praise? That the Telegraph put out a headline that said, like, they may have been beaten, but Arsenal proved that it's possible to beat City with the way they rattled them in the first half. And there's people saying no one has rattled City like Arsenal. We beat them.
We beat them last season as well. So
that's last season, Joe. That's last season.
We beat them in the cup on penalties. Can I have that one?
You can have that one because you beat them this season. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, they rattled them. Congratulations. How many points does that get you? None. You're still only 2 points out of Tottenham and we 2 games in hand, and we actually managed to beat that club. Again, brilliant performance, but let's just rein it in a little bit. It's.
Do you not think it's because they pressed them so hard and that they couldn't play out from it? Whereas when Spurs beat them, it was a counter-attacking performance. When Leeds did it, when we've done it, it's all been based on the counter. They kind of did it on a front foot approach. But
look, take Leeds for example. Like they play this really good football. They play last season more so than this season. They played expansive. They pressed the big teams. They played their own game against them. They got battered all the time. Then they got praised for that. And people started abusing Bielsa because the media think he's doing well. I mean, yes, it's better to see clubs do well when they're playing good football, but I'd rather beat Man City 1-0 playing a slightly defensive style than lose 2-1 going out to get them.
Oh, I agree, mate. I agree. Yeah. We're always going to get this with Arsenal, though. We are, and unfortunately, it does kind of follow them around. Like, every time there is something, it just goes through the roof. I don't know whether it's because of the fan base and the media around it. I don't know. They deserve credit, but if I was an Arsenal fan, it's so up and it's so down all the time. Yeah. I'd find it exhausting.
Yeah, I think I think why there was so much praise is because, like, I remember saying to Corey a while back about, Arsenal are doing well, and he was like, yeah, but they're beating teams that they should be beating. And then they came up against the City and they got spanked, and I was like, all right, fair enough. I think this time they actually looked decent. They didn't have a soft underbelly. I know they lost their head second half and they still went to pot, but they looked decent, I felt. And I just think they're doing a good job. Like, all I could think of was, like, how are people going to spin this? How are people going to spin this, those that are so vehemently Arteta out? You know what I'm talking about? And then I had a look, and this guy was wearing a Mahrez shirt on the day of the game, and I thought, this guy, that's how he does it, man. I don't know if he's caught our friendly.
The thing is with the Arsenal performances is when they won those games or when they got results, I still felt that they weren't created enough. Yeah. They didn't look brilliant in transition, and now it feels like they do create a lot. They do score a lot. They are more dynamic. They're pressing spot on. I feel like now I can give them praise because for me, you look at West Ham recently, we've been awful defensively and all of a sudden we've started scoring goals. So I can kind of see a middle ground. And for Arsenal, it kind of felt like, okay, they're getting the results, but they're not wiping the floor with teams like I feel they should do with some of their players. So I can get on board with them now. So-and-so who you're talking about, I'll be interested to talk to him. I want to see what he says. Because even I'm going, fair enough, he's quite good to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Someone just said you need to get Ty on. I didn't watch the video because I was on the way to the game. But I seen a clip where Ty had brought up a Ryan Babel foul back in 2015 and Robbie's like, why are you talking about Ryan Babel? And I need to actually go back and watch the video. I just think he's quality as Ty. So that's Arsenal. Let's have a chat about your two clubs then. Who wants to start? I feel like Matt's been itching because I feel like he didn't get enough praise at the start, and we've just spoke about Arsenal. Conte, mate, talk to me.
We're still, at the moment, we're not great, but we're getting results, and that's all we care about right now. You know, Conte has said time and time again, this squad needs improvement. We need to invest in the window. He said he's going to need a couple of windows to get us back to a level where we're challenging in the Premier League, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm absolutely delighted if we're going to go out and score 96-minute winners against Watford, and we were in the end extremely lucky to not win, or unlucky to not win against Southampton, but we have a bit of resilience and a bit of structure about us right now, and we have a clear idea of how we want to play going forward. We have a clear idea of where we need to improve in the squad. We need a left-sided centre-back. We need a right wing-back. We need another striker, and maybe a creative midfielder if we can stretch that far in the window. I don't think we will, but we have a bit of an identity back about us and just a path, and it's so good to see. And we're kind of figuring that out while also being good and actually progressing in the leagues. We've had 8 games now under Conte. We've kept 5 clean sheets. We've won 5 of them. We've drawn 3. We're unbeaten. He's the first manager to go unbeaten in his first 8 Premier League games in Tottenham's history. We're racking up these clean sheets. We've conceded, I think, 4 fewer big chances than any other team in these games. And we're players who we're ready to sell on in Harry Winks, in Ben Davis, and potentially Hugo Lloris as well, are now some of our best players and are actually performing really well. And Conte as well is the type of man who, like I was mentioning, Rangnick won't do. He will make the big decisions. And Ndombele is going to be off this window. I'd be very surprised if he's still a Tottenham player. He's replacing Emerson.
Who's that? Sorry.
Ndombele, he's
Right.
apparently going to Roma to join up with Jose Mourinho again, which I don't think any of us saw coming. But it's a player off our books that we needed, and he's not beating around the bush in the past where Jose and Pochettino said, "Oh, we will take signings, but maybe it's not the best time, and we won't get them unless we have to." Conte saying, "We will sign players," and he's putting that onus on Daniel Levy to actually get that money available and go out and spend it. Because in the past, Pochettino especially made himself a bit of a scapegoat, where he's saying we will only make signings if we know they will improve the team. Conte's not having any of that. He's bringing this all to Daniel Levy. I think that's why Man United didn't bring him in, because they knew he would do that. Yeah. And he's the exact character, he's the exact man that this club needs to get back to where we want to be.
So, do you know who are your two games at hand against, mate? Is it Burnley and?
We got 3. It's Burnley, Brighton, and Leicester, all away from home.
You got 3, right? So right, okay. So I'm just looking at the top 4. So obviously you've got 2 on Arsenal.
Yeah.
And if you win them 2, you're straight into the top 4 as it currently stands. So I know we've spoke about before. I was asking you about top 4. Could it happen? Has your opinion now changed? Sat in January, like I understand why it would. Like,
yeah, it's maybe more out of hope than expectation, but when we're on the run that we're on, and it looks like it's just going to get better with potentially some good signings this window. There'd be no point in being a fan if I'm going to watch this positivity and say, no, we're not going to get it. What's the point in getting excited? There is those worries there and those concerns that Tottenham will do what Tottenham always do and somehow manage to mess it up. But
Spursy.
Spursy, it is what it is.
We can't take out the DNA, mate. You can't take it out. Hopefully, anyway. You know what I mean? Unless Conte changes it. I don't know.
Fingers crossed it does. But this month is going to be extremely important on and off the pitch. Off the pitch for obvious reasons. But on the pitch, we've got Chelsea in the Cup. Then we got Morecambe. Then we got Chelsea in the Cup again. Then we have Arsenal in the league. And then we've got Chelsea in the league again. So 4 London derbies in our next 5 games. It's going to be, I don't think it's going to be important in terms of getting results in those games. And by that I mean, we're going to lose one of them. We're not going to go 3 games unbeaten against Chelsea at home to Arsenal. Anything can happen. It's not about saying unbeaten in those games. It's about how we react if we do lose one of those games, which I think we will. And I think the mentality has been put in that squad already that we will be able to bounce back from it. We'll be able to turn it around. But you never really know for sure until we get to that point and until that new manager bounce really, really settles down. And we get to work then. But I mean, like I said, it'd be stupid if I wasn't hopeful for top 4 at this point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good. It's going to go right down to the wire, and another team that you really started to drop off, Corey. Though you really started to drop off, and I was like worried about you. I was thinking,
you were worried. Think about how I feel watching that. It was awful, mate. It was like falling off a cliff. I thought I'm gonna have to take all my expectations and all my analysis down a notch because it was quite frustrating, and I couldn't. It was almost like I wasn't watching the same football team anymore. But there are still glaring vulnerabilities. The back 4, and in particular Masuaku and Diop, is frightening. I actually think West Ham's best game and a half of football has been when we've had Ben Johnson at left back, which is no surprise to me in terms of the cohesiveness of the back 4. The one thing that is saving us at the minute is our attacking 4. They've been fantastic. I think Ben Rama was absolutely superb. Lanzini's been different level in particular.
Well, mate. Bowen, man.
But yeah, Bowen probably the most complete game I've seen from him against Watford in terms of chance creation. We know he's got work rate, but just composure in the final third. And listen, we've got Vlasic coming through, and I think he'll play a lot this month with Ben Rama going out, as will Lanzini. So for now to come back against Leeds, they have to be performing. And even Antonio has looked better. And that goal that he scored against Palace was in that game. It kind of felt like he had that extra bit of energy. He's in the right position and he's playing as more of a natural number 9. We need them to score goals, but I don't want to see games where I'm having to score 2 or 3 goals to get 3 points. And that's the only thing. And it's kind of that balance that West Ham need. Declan played as a natural number 6, and we still conceded 2 goals, and he's still helping out Dawson and Diop. That's got to improve. So I think we're in a market for a left back. I think we're in a market for a centre back, and I think we've been linked with Barbosa. We've been linked with Traore as of Tottenham. So I expect us to do some business, and I've heard maybe 30 million, 35 million to spend, which is really good. And I think we've got, in terms of fixtures, I don't know if you've seen it with West Ham, but I think we're all right in terms of congestion now. And there's even a period at the end of January to February where it feels like we've got 2 weeks off, which I'm buzzing about because this squad was flagging big time. So we just got to get results, pick them up. Don't worry about Tottenham. Don't worry about Arsenal because their game's in hand. It changes everything, and we'll just keep plodding along. And hopefully we'll be a little bit stronger by the end of the month.
Yeah. If you is you, and this is how far you've come, mate, in such a short space of time. For you to just miss out on Europe, that would be an unsuccessful season, right?
Yeah, we have to get some form of European football. I think so, and I think this first team when fully fit is more than good enough to do it. And it has been a shame to watch West Ham at times, particularly over the last month, where injuries and the personnel that have come in have really let us down, and fatigue. And you hate to see things like that. I think you could accept it if we were mid-table and we were a bit hit and miss, but I think you saw against Palace, and I know we weren't brilliant, but how effective and clinical we were, that we've got a real team kicking around there. So I would hope, I'm not even that bothered about the Conference League. This is what makes me laugh. I know we're in these conversations of top 6 and top 4. I'm really not that bothered, mate. Like we're not really meant to be here, and yet we're getting on everyone's nerves because we are here. And look, we'll just keep doing our thing. I trust Moyes implicitly. He has to make a move in this market, though. He has to make a move now because I'm talking the end of this season, long term. There are players that shouldn't be at West Ham, and for me, Mazuaku and Yarmolenko are the two biggest out. Shouldn't be anywhere near West Ham. They should be. I don't know where you're going to put them, but take them out of the team, get someone in, get a young player in, a player of energy, and then we'll see where we can go. But no expectations from me, mate, other than just keeping that top 7 conversation. I think that's where we deserve to be.
Just for Leeds fans and myself in the chat, mate, like I see the game on Sunday, the FA Cup game, as a nuisance. Like, because for me, if we were mid-table or we're having a similar season to last season, I'd be looking at that FA Cup game as like, right, come on, let's go as far as we can. Considering where we are, the state of our squad, we don't have a big squad. You've got issues with your squad. I don't know what your thoughts are, mate, but I'm like, let's just get it out of the way and try and get a point next weekend for me. Like, that's where my head is. I'd snap your hands off for a point at your place in 2 weeks. This Sunday, I'm really not asked. Rotate the squad for me. I don't know where your thoughts are.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I'd love to win an FA Cup. I really would. I just feel that with the fixtures that we do have, with all due respect, against Leeds, against Norwich, that there is an opportunity for us, and you even look at Man United away, to get points on the board and just stabilise where we're at. And so for me, the FA Cup's not a priority. I don't know how far we'll go in the Europa League. It's in March, but the longer we stay in these competitions, the harder it gets. And I think we've proven, okay, fair enough, we can rotate and do okay. But have we got the longevity to rotate and stay in it? I don't think so. So I'm happy for Moyes to rotate. I think he'll rotate heavily. It's going to be a weird game, mate, because there's almost two teams there that are a bit like, don't really need it. But yeah, look, Moyes will never not go into that game trying to win it. So if we get through, we get through. But I'm not too fast.
I think you might, because I think we shuffle the pack. I do think we have to shuffle. Well, I don't know if we can shuffle the pack, but what I'm saying is, like, we just have a positive.
Neither can we. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. We've just had a positive result against Burnley. Let's just think about West Ham away in the league, man, and get away from this drop zone. I'm not, honestly. And there's someone saying, no, it's the FA Cup, it's the romance of the cup. I get all that, but I think it also takes the shine off the fact that we've got West Ham and then we've got West Ham again. Like, that's another thing as well.
I've got to think about Wednesday, mate. Do you know what I mean? Even when we're playing you, we've got Norwich on the Wednesday after. So now it's
right, okay.
So now I'm thinking, well, I don't think we see Antonio at all, which is probably brilliant for you. I think we just go false 9 because we're going to need him fit for both of those games. So it's. If it was 1 week and then the next week, I'd get it. And I'd kind of go, maybe you can afford to. But we just need to batter Norwich. Like, genuinely. Like, that's just what we need to do.
Come on, you're only saying that, Sharia. You've been saying to your West Ham friends, we just need to batter Leeds and Norwich.
No, we need to. But here's the pitfalls. When we played you last time, you were brilliant in the first half. We were so naive. And I think against Palace, again, we've struggled against teams that press us high. And Bielsa's going to do that. Absolutely. And I think you're going to have Dan James. There are going to be just certain elements of it where I don't want to risk it in the league in particular. So West Ham, albeit, we should go in there and fans would be going, we've got to get on the ball, we've got to press these, we've got to get forward. Don't be naive, because this is where I think where we've changed as a club from being a counter-attacking team to a team that's got to be on the ball. We do get picked off. So, sure, we'll discuss it anyway.
Definitely. It'll be an amazing atmosphere, because I think West Ham gave 9,000 tickets and they were sold in
I'm buzzing for it, mate. It should be really good.
Yeah. 9,000 Leeds fans down there. It'll be amazing, man. Unfortunately, they're not at the game, but it'll be an amazing atmosphere for sure. So I will be doing some content for that game, but like I said, I just want it out of the way so we can concentrate on the league. And if Tyler Roberts starts up top, mate, Don't worry, we ain't scoring goals.
You got a problem with Tyler, mate. You got a problem with Tyler. I've even tried to see it from people's point of view, and I'm going, I don't know, I really don't know. I don't want to talk on your place. You know them better than me.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what I'm like though. I'm too nice. I think when it comes to players, I am. I understand that, but that's just how I am. Like I can.
So am I, mate. I've tried to defend Masuaku for as long as humanly possible, but in the end, I've gone no. You're actually hurting us by being on the pitch.
After the weekend, he missed the sitter, and I've said, and I'm gonna have to start banging the drum, and it pains me to do it because I back Bielsa, but like we need to start Joffrey up front now. The kid's played 300 minutes, and is it that many? Possibly, I don't know, but he's played so many minutes off the bench. He won us 2 penalties. He got an assist.
Brilliant. His assist the other day was fantastic.
That assist was
unreal.
If that's Kevin De Bruyne, people are talking about it for months.
Yeah.
Inch perfect ball into Dan James.
Yeah. And genuinely, there were so many opportunities in that first half, like Ben Mee, Tarkowski just making so many errors, and there was opportunities at goal, and Tyler would like run down a blind alley, or he would try do his little turny thing, or he would just totally miss the target. And like I said in the comments, I just want him to do well. I'm willing him to do well. And someone said in my comments, like, willing him to do well, like proper game for me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but I just can't be like that. I just can't be like that. Although I remember saying I never wanted to see Bamford play for my football club again after the Derby loss, but
that went down, mate. Really well.
Make mistakes.
But I was fuming at that point. You know what I mean? I was fuming. But so Leeds United, look, I did a post match on it. You guys in the chat, hopefully will have seen it. It was a decent performance. Burnley were rubbish. Like I said at halftime, we cannot lose to these. There was one moment, right, where the ball gets come over and Ben Mee is facing his goal. The ball drops and he tries to like not overhead kick as in like he's just tried to like boot it behind him and it's just gone straight up in the air and come back straight down. And I was like, this is what we're up against. Like, these are rubbish. We can't afford to lose. Obviously, Maxwell Cornet came off the bench, scored a lovely free kick. But yeah, we just had too much for them in the end, and I'm just buzzing with that. So, look, 8-point gap now over Burnley. Yes, they have games in hand, but I think relegation chatter for a couple of weeks has gone away. We're not out of the woods. I said that after, I think we got a point against Leicester, Brighton. I remember saying it before, and then we had that terrible run where we played like City, Arsenal, got spanked, and everyone's going, we're going down again. Then we get a positive result, we're out of the wood. Do you know what I mean? So, and I've said this, it's going to be like that for Leeds United this season. The squad depth, Bielsa is not doing well in the window in the summer. It will be up and down for the rest of the season. When we get to the end, I'll be glad it's done with, and we reset in the summer. And that's where we're at currently. But if we, you never know, we might do business in January. We need to.
You've got to, mate. You've got to.
Yeah, we will. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, we will bring players in, but whether it'll be good enough players like Rafinha's level to shoot us up the table, I don't see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of feel like Leeds have banked on when they spent all of that money when you first came up. You had players in there where if you've got Robin Koch and Llorente playing regularly, that would have been your first choice. You would have Rafinha. Like, there's quite a nice balance to it, and it kind of felt like there's a good spine of the team when all of those players are fit. But it for me, it's just it's the quality of depth as well to bring in. I know Forshaw's really stepped up, but
it's been brilliant.
I think it's weird because, again, even watching West Ham to a degree, you see players get coached to a certain point, and then now I'm starting to go, you can't go any further than this. And I kind of look at Leeds and I feel there are some players in your team that players like Firpo that will go on and improve as well, and you'll be good. But then there are other players like Tyler Roberts where you look at them and think, and I think that's the big thing for Leeds. I think once players like that go out, with all due respect, and you bring in players of a better ilk and more potential, I think Leeds will have a real opportunity to galvanise. I think next season, like I'd kind of be half looking at next season and then the summer transfer window, thinking
100%.
We might be all right. But if Bielsa stays, I don't know if he'll stay. Maybe he'll go.
I still don't know. I think it might be his swan.
It'd be sad. It'd be sad actually. It'd be sad. If he kind of went out on this note. You know what I mean?
I'll be gutted, man. I'll be gutted. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I seen a friend of mine, right? He's been Bielsa out, like genuinely, like during this run, Bielsa out. There's a couple of them. And I said to him, That's it. We're done, And then I don't know if you've seen this image after we scored the third, him just cuddling his number 2.
Yeah,
And
he didn't let go, did he?
No, he did not let go. Like, he's so emotional. Like, and he said afterwards, like he said, I understand the situation we're in. I knew it, and I know the importance of this game, the situation, and it just was overriding emotion. And this lad who was Bielsa out put it on his Instagram story. And I just replied, went, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you do that? Like, after saying he said to me, I hope he's watching this. I won't name check him. He's a good lad, but he said to me, he's taking this as far as he can. He's out of his depth. And I was like, oh my God, I can't deal, man. I can't deal. But nah, look, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Let's just talk about, I just want to do 2 more before we go. Teams that are down and in and around there. First of all, Everton. Obviously, I was going to get Mike on from the Blue Boys Network, but he's very busy tonight. He had 3 different podcasts. As you can imagine, he's busy because of what's going on at Everton. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it got doing the round yesterday. The Everton fans were singing, "You're just a fat Spanish waiter" at him in the ground. Like, I don't know if you've seen that. Like, no. It's on my Instagram story. There is a video of Everton fans saying, "You're just a fat Spanish waiter," at their own manager. I know a lot of them didn't want him there anyway. I've told you before about how I know someone who won't call him Rafa. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a Rafa the Gaffer. It's a Liverpool thing. Do you know what I mean? Kind of vibe that he's just like. So they never really wanted him anyway. But I do feel it's harsh, like saying you're just a fat Spanish waiter, like when he's managing your own club. But I think I was listening to was it the 5 Live on the way back anyway, and they had an Everton caller. And to be fair, the presenter said like it runs deeper than Benitez because, and you mentioned it earlier, Corey, they started throwing out fees. Like they paid like 30-odd million for Alex Iwobi, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean?
40, wasn't it? It was something nuts.
Well, there you go. 40,
ridiculously. Like, yeah.
Mental. Like, what's going on there, bro? Because can they spend again? Will they spend again? And does Rafa see the season out, or is it just get too much for him?
I don't know. I think they've kind of just gone for a stable option, which is kind of ironic because no one really wants him there, and it's kind of not bringing any stability or cohesion. I think they've brought in a left back, and again, Luka Dini's gone out. He'll probably go out on loan. I hope we go for him. I don't know whether we will or not. I look at Rafa Benitez, and I've said before, it's the squad, and maybe he needs more time. But I looked at some of the goals they were conceding against Brighton. I know they play some fantastic football, particularly in transition. But I just thought even from set pieces, Everton were really poor. And I thought that's kind of the bread and butter. When you're down there at that neck of the woods, you've got to be able to defend set pieces. And Rafa is, by no stretch of the imagination, underperforming. I think someone said he's got 3 points out of a possible 36. That is relegation form. And I think those owners they'll give him the window because they'll support him a little bit as much as they can with FFP. But you've got to look around your shoulder at Newcastle, who I think are improving, and I think they're going to get Trippier in and probably a few others as well. I'd be really worried. And I think it'd be such a modern day failure of a football club like Everton, who are a huge football club that have spent so much money to go down. They don't think they've ever been relegated. So, yeah, I don't know how tenable it is. I really, really don't. I think give it a month. If it's still bad, if it's still like this, he has to go. You just got a chance to run with someone else.
Yeah, it's quite funny actually because Mike voice noted me and he was like, "I'm fuming," because he said he came on here at the start of the season and I was giving it all. You should sack Bielsa, winding you was all up, and then he said, "Now we're honestly." Some of the words he was saying anyway, like it's not repeatable, but like they're not happy at all. Matt, like, I guess this is where, as an owner, as a football club, like, if they were to push the button and said, you know what, we're going to appease the fans, because I think it sounds like 80% of the fans, them fans in the ground, don't want him there. But then what do Everton do? Like, who's out there for them to bring in? They'd have to go back to Big Sam, wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean?
So he might not be a bad show because they're quickly getting dragged into a relegation battle. It's just such a weird situation, and it was always going to end sourly, even if you had a decent year and a half, because of the history with Liverpool. whatever it was going to end sourly. And I think I saw that tweet, Corey, about them getting 3 and 36. I think it was actually correct. They got 6 points out of their last possible 36. And this is the strangest part for me, because those 6 points is a win against Arsenal and draws against Chelsea, Tottenham and United. Those are the only points they've got in their last 12 games. And within that, they've lost to Brighton, Palace, Liverpool, Brentford, City, Wolves, Watford, West Ham. Like it seems to be the bigger games they're getting the points
by
in.
Watford as well, weren't they? Wasn't
They
like
were,
4-2 as well?
5-2, yeah, at Goodison. And for me, that just simply comes down to a motivation issue. It's easy to get motivated when you're playing the people challenging for a title. Well, easier to get motivated when you're playing teams challenging for the title. But for these games that just feel like what in the past would have been an easy 3 points for Everton, Benitez, for whatever reason, just cannot get those players motivated. And I know they've had their injury concerns. As someone says there in the chat, they've missed DCL. And then, of course, he comes back and skies that penalty at the weekend.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, whether it is deeper behind the scenes, whether it's just Benitez, whether it's the squad, something has to change. And the easiest thing to change is your manager. But then, like you said, who's out there? I think if there was a competent, decent manager, one with Premier League experience out there available right now, Benitez would be gone immediately and they'd bring someone in. Whereas now, I think it was in the comments as well, there's things for Jesse Marsch to go to Everton. And he's just been sacked by Leipzig after 5 months because he's not been good enough there after making a step up from Salzburg. So you really question, is that even a viable option for Everton? And they're in the same problem that I think United were in for so long, why they kept Solskjaer, why we took Nuno, because the options just aren't really out there.
Yeah,
true. But maybe
Everton and Benitez is he's a good manager, man.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I know it's going sour, but he's a good manager, right? Do you know what I mean?
He really is, and he's not the type of manager who'd walk away from that either. No matter how bad it gets from the fans, and look, chanting that at your own manager, chanting that at anybody, just it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
But he won't walk away. He's too loyal. He's too.
Well, he got loads of stick at Chelsea, didn't he? And he never bottled that, did he? You know what I mean?
He won the Europa League as well.
Yeah.
So fair play.
Even when he got relegated with Newcastle, there was teams wanting him all around the place. Got a big offer from China. He managed to say that. No, he eventually got to move to Dalian in China. But it's a horrible situation for him. And look, I understand it's a horrible situation for Everton fans as well. It's not like they're just throwing their toys out of the pram for nothing. I mean, they're a team who, like we mentioned, have invested 3, 4, 5, 600 million in the last decade or so. It's a lot of money. And they're fans who do stick by their club. They're a loyal group, and they've had to put up with a lot of crap this season. But there's a way to go about that, and I think some of them are like they did at the beginning when these rumors started. They're just taking it way out of proportion, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, it was quite when I seen that I was like bloody hell. Just to finish, then let's do Newcastle. I just want to have a quick chat about Newcastle. Obviously, it looks like Kieran Trippier is coming in. Someone asked me earlier on, I wrote it down here, Bowen. I was like, that no, there was a comment that came. There was a comment that came in there, and I was like, I've never seen that. I never will.
Yeah, he's just going only one way, mate. That's up. I'm telling you now. Yeah. He ain't going to Newcastle.
Yeah. How do we see it going, lads? Like, obviously, Trippier looks like he's coming in. I was speaking about it with my mate who I go to the football with on Sunday, and was saying, like, a lot of these players that are coming in, they'll be at the Arsenal. Like, people are talking about, like, I remember when it was, there was like images of like Calvin, James Ward-Prowse, all these sort of players that are next in line, I guess you could say, for a move to a bigger club in terms of like top 4 or whatever. Like, and they had all these things, but they're not the kind of players that are coming. You're getting like a Trippier who's at the arse end of his career. They're going to have all sorts of like clauses in there that say if we go down, we'll be able to go for no. Do you know what I mean? Just all this sort of stuff. And if they do stay in this relegation fight, which they're in, they've played 19. A lot of the other teams around, like Watford and Burnley, have got games in hand in them. They've only got one more point than Norwich, and Norwich are bad. So, like a Trippier coming in, it's a right back. Is that an answer? Obviously, Wilson just got injured along with St. Maximan, and there's their core 2 guys. So, how do you see it going?
I think it depends solely on this window. Trippier for me is a really good signing. He left Tottenham in very odd circumstances after the Champions League final. He's one of the players that I wanted to keep because he wasn't, he was nothing special, but he was a very solid player, one that you could rely on. I think that's a really clever move for Newcastle to make, but the rest of the move is going to be clever because I've said it before that it just screams for me that Newcastle are going to sign Ousmane Dembele put him on insane money this window, and he'll be out for the season in 2 weeks' time. That's all of a sudden their marquee signing gone.
They have inquired about him as well, right? We've seen that, haven't they?
Yeah, I think them and United have been in contact with his agents. They need a clever signing up top. Even before the injuries to Wilson and St. Maximin, they needed to invest well there. They need midfielder as well. I think they need something a bit more.
Defense is woeful as well. They've been linked with that Botman as well, right?
Realistically, they need 11 players.
Botman would be a great signing.
I think Lille turned down their request for him. They don't want to let him go mid-season.
Oh, really?
He gone in the summer because they won't get back in the Champions League. But yeah, it probably feels like a situation where Newcastle will stay up if Watford sack Ranieri, which apparently they're thinking already. Sammy Mockbell for the Daily Mail, who, despite working for the Daily Mail, is actually really good. He said they're already considering it. So if that happens, and if Watford go into another period of that, I think them and Norwich are gone. I still feel as though Burnley will have enough to stay up because they're Burnley, and it's just Sean Dyche, and he'll somehow manage to pull it out the bag in whatever way. But if things
we're running out of teams here, Matt. We're running out of teams. Be careful.
I'm getting to Leeds next. No, if Newcastle stay up, it'll be because everyone else is just a little bit worse rather than Newcastle being better. If that makes any sense.
So I think, and we'll ask you this just as you finish. Like for me, Norwich and Watford are gone. I know Watford are in 17th now, but I just don't think they have enough. They've got so many players going to AFCON as well. I don't know if Dennis is staying now.
Stopping him, aren't they?
Stopping
him, Sarr and Dennis.
I seen the Dennis stuff. I thought it was just for this weekend's game. I didn't realise that was it. Like kaput. Imagine there's been some money exchange there. Surely for them to go to Dennis. I don't know. I don't know. For him to stay, because I'd be saying, no, I'm going to play for my country, man. What are you doing? But I don't know what's going on there. It's disrespect to the AFCON, really, isn't it? But yeah, for me, Norwich and Watford are gone. Who else is that other team, Corey? Who are your three? Because you might not agree, Watford.
I'm going to go. No, I agree with Watford. They were awful.
Yeah.
Again, defensively, they were so poor against us. It was actually quite shocking, to be fair. I think they'll go down, Norwich will go down, and I feel like Everton are going to slip in there, Yeah. I think Newcastle will get out of it. I've said this for a while. I'd like to think I've been consistent with the Newcastle thing. I think Newcastle, there is something there. And I think if they get the right signings in, I think Trippier, like Matt said, is a fantastic signing. I even look from set pieces and things like that. Little things that you probably wouldn't pick up on. I think he'll be spot on. And he's got experience and he's played at the highest level, etc. I think they might just get out of it. Everton just looks to me like a real sinking ship. And
imagine Everton going down. Wow.
Well, no, I'm just assuming here. You look at the window, you'd expect Newcastle to invest. I know Everton brought in a left back, but that's like for like, essentially. You've lost Dean, who's fantastic as well. But then you've got Burnley, who 9 times out of 10 will be able to grind out results. I just look at the way that Everton are playing, and I don't see where they galvanise. If they're not going to bring anybody in, and they stick with Benitez, and they leave it too long, then they may be in trouble. So I'm gonna throw them in there. I haven't really thought about it. I just thought about it now.
No, that's fair.
We'll see. It'd be like I say.
I think Burnley could go this time. You
know why I say they won't? I think Burnley are trying at times. I've seen them play almost a slightly higher press. They're trying to be a little bit more expansive. I just wonder whether if you get towards the end of the season and you've got Wood fit and you've got Cornet fit, that they can nick a goal. And I would back Burnley to keep a 1-0. I know they've been poor. I agree. And again, you've seen them recently. I just think they're playing slightly differently. I think if they wanted to revert back and they wanted to be more disciplined, I think they could just do it. And they probably missed. Did Nick Pope play the other day? I don't think he did.
No, I didn't, mate. No, I didn't.
If you get him back in, he's a quality keeper. If they go down, then I'd be more than obliged as a West Ham fan to try and take him off them. So I think they'll be all right. Just
if they do go down, I think I'd take Cornet as well. I know he did his little dancing thing. I don't know if you've seen that, man. He proper milked it. Like danced, right? Someone threw a bottle and it hit Matt Lawton. They all did one, and he came back and just started his dance moves again, man. It was like, what are you doing?
I respect
it. Anyway, as long as you don't think Leeds are going down, we're all good.
I think you're right, mate.
If we'd lost against Burnley, bro. What you say, Matt?
So I didn't name my third just yet.
Oh, go on then. Go. Give us it.
No, I said it from day one. You're not going anywhere. Burnley have 2-3 games in hand, which could be important.
Yeah.
I'll go Norwich, Newcastle, Watford to go.
Newcastle, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be amazing. No, it wasn't the same end as Canos. It was the opposite end to me this time. Otherwise, I might have been down there throwing.
I think I've seen you actually on the telly right down the front, to be fair. Every time someone scores a goal against you, right there.
I don't think so, mate. I stay back. Yeah, anyway, right. I think we'll leave it there. It's been a great show. Thank you for giving up your evening for me, lads. Thank you for those that have watched in the chat. Please do subscribe to both Matt and Corey's channels. Their links are in the description. You've got the West Ham Way and, of course, Matt Hayes, the Tottenham blog. They'll be doing plenty of content, no doubt, throughout January. So they'll be busy. I think we'll be doing bits as well, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, make sure you check out their channels, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and enjoy the rest of your week. I think we're all back to proper working and that from tomorrow. I'm going back to uni and stuff. I've got an assignment, and it's just oh man, yeah, not good.
Back to reality.
Anyway,
mate. Back to reality.
Yeah, back to reality. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Thank you as always, people.